There we go. And I think
Hello.
I got the right button there. Well, here we are. Pamela and I, we're sitting on the front row seat again, and we're discussing the work that we've been doing and the things we've been thinking about. And a big part of our discussions are working through the inner dynamics of ourselves and get in there and find out, who we are. There is a big thing about that know thyself. The more you know about yourself,
Yeah.
the more you understand what's happening in your life. So, welcome again, Pamela, my brave soul. You are
Thank
just
you.
so, I see so much courage in you, and you're just ready to face it all, and you're doing it, and you're looking at it, and you're just a soldier. How are you doing right now?
I'm doing good. I thank you for having me, and the audience, thank you for the listeners tuning in and stuff and going on this journey with us. And Cheryl, truly thank you for everything that you're sharing. You're bringing such great insight uh, for me, more awareness around this stuff, and I genuinely, deeply appreciate it. And I just want so much more. I just want so much more info. I want to grow and I want to be better, but we have to be where we are, right?
Yes, we are where we are, and but then you can go in rapid succession to where you want to go. With
Okay.
with
Yeah.
the right information and understanding what your reality is doing and how it's bringing the information to you and what that information means. It's all of it. Every single bit of it is there for a reason. It's not just a random, um, random things I think do happen here, but I think that those are just blips on the screen. You can kind of feel it and you know it when, you're moving through your life and it's about your growth because that's what it is usually about anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of it is
Definitely.
really hard. I go through it all the time too. Things happen and I'm going, ooh, that's mine, and I have to look at it. And the only thing I've really gotten better at is just having more courage to look at it. Because, the more you work on this and the more you do, it's almost like it's strengthening this courage muscle. If you think of it like a muscle, it's just making it stronger. And then see the system can start bringing you bigger pieces of it because you've kind of gotten into a system of doing the work, and then it can bring those bigger pieces to you so you can get on with the program, and you can get out
Yeah.
of these places where you're just locked up in fear.
Oh man, that's ooh.
Ooh, but
There
by the time you're
oof.
done, you're going to have the courage you need to look at it. And the more work, the more you do, the easier it gets.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten pretty good at identifying or claiming it as my own, right? I'm
Mhm.
not in every instance, but I would say overall, I recognize going, Pam, because either way, if someone is, doing that to you, that's their stuff, right? Even if that were the case, and so I wouldn't be hurt by it. I think we talked about that a little bit last time, where it's if it's something that hurts me, then I need to look at it, right?
Then that's about you. Every negative feeling that you have is always about you
Yes.
and something that's
Yes.
resonating within you, like someone's doing something. And a lot of times what I found is the things I got upset about were things that I had going on within me that I didn't like.
And it's well, and when you did your deep diving and then when you just started getting digging in there and really, excuse me, uh incorporating it and identifying it through while you're interacting in your reality and stuff, because I do I do a pretty good job of going, you know what, Pam, and I love that piece, anything negative is coming from fear. That's mine. And I think that's a massive thing, because then it instantly, it's like, okay, that is completely about me. And but I have a choice on how to handle it. But when you're so like sometimes I can feel like I can literally feel how difficult it is to, and I'm not, it's like, okay, so I'm learning to accept it, which is also difficult because sometimes I get angry about being angry. Does that make sense? Because I'll get mad because I don't want to feel that way. And I'm like, but you do feel that way and you have to accept that.
Yes.
How are you going to accept anyone else if you can't accept where you are?
And that you're a human
You
being,
know?
and that we're kind of like these energetic, it's all energy. Our emotions are all about energy, right? And so this energy comes in because that energy is you. It's part of you. It's part of your energetic system. But that part of your energetic system is locked up in fear. So you don't have access to that energy, period. So that's why there's,
Yeah.
kind of beauty in this work, because as you work through these fears and you get rid of them, then it unlocks your energy to where it's available to you. Because when you're in fear, it just bottoms your energy out. You can even feel it. And then you start fighting it. Oh, it doesn't
Yeah.
feel good. And
I like the,
uh,
blah, blah, blah.
blah. And that's what it feels like. It feels bad, but it's still you. It's you.
Yeah.
It's still you. It's your energy. And, I think that's kind of what we see all around us. It's just a bunch of different energy, it's just energy. And if you ask a
But
scientist, oh, well, it's all energy, it's just vibration, right? Vibration and energy. Well, that's probably what we got going on too. But we're in this avatar that's kind of tricking us into thinking that it's not.
yeah, and I love that's a really, really good piece what you just shared. That part of your energy is locked up in your fear. Because what that helps me, it gives me hope.
Yeah.
It gives me hope, right? Going, and more awareness around it, more a better understanding of it, going, because you have this fear, because your energy is locked up in that fear. As you move through it, you'll be releasing more information to yourself, or I will be more open, and right. And I think that's such a good piece because I guess it helps me. I guess it's just hopeful, like having that understanding and knowing that it just clarifies it for me.
It isn't also, maybe there's a good feeling around it because maybe it's the first time that there's been a real answer to it, of
Yes, yes,
what
that's exactly
what's
it.
actually going on here, because it is like a repeating loop, you know
Yeah.
and
Oh God, yeah.
by our age we've kind of noticed it. It's like, okay, I remember that exact same thing happening different
Like
times, different
500
places.
times.
Yeah, all those other times that happened, very similar to that. How can that even be? It's like,
And this time it's not their fault.
yeah,
I have to acknowledge it's my fault, right?
this time
Oh
I
God.
get to own it, because
Yes.
it's got to be mine. It keeps showing up.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
now you can respond to it in a different way, to where it actually, where you gather your energy back into yourself, and you let go of what was causing those situations to come up in your reality in the first place. Then those situations stop happening once you recover your energy from it, and then you get new ones, and they're better. They're more, you're more hopeful, because then as you start getting movement in this, in this work, then you can see your reality starts shifting, and it starts getting better in a lot of different ways. But you're still going to have the areas where you have fear. You're still going to have that stuff coming, but bring it. That way I can get rid of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want to experience that, but it's like, well, you have to. You have to face that.
What's
Like
me?
it's literally,
It's
yeah.
me. So why can't
Oh,
I just love all of the parts of me and not put any good and bad labels on it? How about
right.
that?
No, that's huge because we tapped
I
into
think
that a
we're
little bit
beating
last
ourselves
time.
up because we
Yes.
have negative emotion and we have
Yeah.
negative parts in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with that is beating ourselves up that it's there has no function. It does nothing except
It
add to
just
it. It adds more fuel to it.
exactly.
Okay, now I'm
Yep.
afraid of myself. Oh no,
Yeah,
what is
yeah.
myself going to do to me next?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think getting that understanding of owning it and then coupling that with you're not bad because you feel that way. That piece that we talked about, I think last weekend or whenever it was we're not good, we're not bad, we're learning. We are
Yes.
literally learning. So give yourself a break and then you can give other people a break too. They're just where they are. Again, I
Yes.
always have to remind myself
Well,
because
who came in here and said, well, see, we've gone through this conversation, but I think here we are again. It's good that we go around it again and say it in different ways because it's happening to all of us, and that, you was explaining this to me and then I was just, the thought popped into my head. It's like, well, I don't know, but we're not good. I haven't met anybody that's all good ever. We all
Mhm.
have things that are not good. So that means, okay, we're not good, but so, okay, well, why are we trying to, portray that to others, to ourselves? Why are we even attempting to do that when we all know that's not true? Because we can see what we do in our lives and we can see how we are. We know we're not
Mhm.
good. We know we have all this stuff, good, bad. You can put all these labels on it, stuff. It's just we just are. It's just you know we have both. So maybe it's just not either one. And coming through the cultural stuff and getting that stuff off of us of what's
Mhm.
acceptable, what's not acceptable, and all the rigmarole that comes with our cultures and all of that stuff. And in our culture, when we made a mistake, especially in the South, it was corporal punishment. So we got punished very severely for mistakes when we were not being good. And so then we wanted to start pleasing those adults around us so that we wouldn't get attacked. Right. And it was too harsh and it was mean at times. And, God love all of our parents and ancestors. They're doing the best they could, what they had and what was ever going on in this realm.
Right.
But it doesn't matter. This is what we have now. So
Yeah.
we've got this thing. We've got this thing. Hang on one sec. Where we think that we have to be good.
Do you think part of it
And
though is that it's our natural inclination because we are consciousness and we are here to grow to become love? Do you think part of it is tapped into that? Not that we feel bad, but because we want to be good because that's our consciousness. That's we come here to grow to be that.
I think we all like love. We like the way love feels. When someone is focused on you and really thinking about other and thinking about you and loving on you and caring about you and having compassion towards you and having that vibration towards you, it's intoxicating and everybody loves that. So I
Right.
think that's what it is that we want that. Well, if you have a lot of fear within you, you don't get to have any. Because when
Right.
you're acting out of these fears and you're reacting to yourself and doing all this stuff, well, nobody's going to treat you that way because anytime they get upset, well, you're just attacking back. So they don't feel that way either. And nobody feels that way because of what we're doing, because we're going about it
Mhm.
the wrong way.
And
You're
I think
going
it
the
was
wrong way.
you're going wrong way on the wrong way on a one-way street.
Yeah, yeah. It's like that movie, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Did you see that?
Oh God, forever ago.
Oh, watch it again with new
Okay.
eyes as you're learning all this stuff.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and you can see
definitely.
it. What the one guy's in fear, the other guy is just going with the flow, you know, and he goes through the worst
Okay.
disasters and he just lands on his feet. But look how compassionate he was, how caring he was, how loving he was to that other man. Even though he was being a right toot, he was not being kind at all.
Oh,
And there
that's
he was,
awesome.
just as sweet as he can be. So I think that it's we want this back in our world because it is part of us too. And I think that in our cultures, when we were being punished for being good, that was not out of being done out of compassion and love.
Right.
See,
That's for sure.
that's
That
for
was
sure.
definite fear.
A definite fear that everybody was in, and then we just caught a piece of it as children that we didn't understand. So we just got wrong beliefs around it, and now we're all just kind of lost in the sauce, trying to find our way back home, type situation.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what do you? I mean, what do you think about that? It's like when I thought about that, and I know that I'm not all good, and I know that I have fears, and I know I have all these things, and I have experienced compassion and caring and love in my life. I know what it is too, and it feels really good. And I know when I do that to others that they respond really well to it because we all need it. It's it has positive emotions with it, and some of them can be negative because when you love someone and you see something hurting them, it doesn't feel good. But that's just, again, your fear. But we I think we all know that we have the potential in our you know for
Yes.
for
Yeah.
those, and there is something in us that does reach for that. We all want love
Yeah.
in our lives. Well, why? Well, it feels good. It brings hope. It
It's
well, it
safe.
brings all things into being. Most of us got
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
through two people who loved each other, right? So evidently it's
Well,
foundational here, and we're trying to get back to it. We just don't have all the answers, but we're digging and digging through these rabbit holes and looking for the answers. And that's all I've been doing for years and years, is finding what works and what doesn't work. Okay, and throwing away what doesn't work, and then keeping what works. Then just keep going forward, keep going forward. And that's how I was able to find some of the answers that I've found so far. And that's one of the things that, it's like, well, how do we get back to that? How do we get to go back to Whoville? It's
right.
it's the whole thing. How do we get back to, we don't need we can't go back to the way we used to live in our evolutionary past. We got to keep going forward from where we are now. Well, how do we just even start treating each other with more compassion, more caring about them, thinking about others instead of always me? How do we even do that? We've come so far away from it. And we end up going to counselors, we end up going over here, we read this book over here, read that book over there. And I think there's been a huge amount of people that are trying to do this very same thing, but without the right information, you're just kind of twirling around in it, and nothing ever really changes. And for me, nothing ever really changed until I started specifically looking at what I was uncomfortable with. And then I realized that my vibrations around those things was making it bigger, making that vibration bigger. Every time I experienced more of it, then it got a little bigger, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger until the point where I would walk out of my house and it would just manifest that, because it's a big vibe now. And you
Yeah.
can hear someone saying, "This always happens to me." Well, yeah, it's part of your vibration. And it's
Okay.
almost like we
So,
got this mixed bag. We have
yeah.
so much caring, so much compassion, some of us, then so much fear. We have so much intellect, so much intuition. I mean, it's like a mixed bag that we carry around with us. And then that's
Well, it's almost where you see it's not necessarily, but it's almost like that's the battle, that old age old good and evil battle, where it's like I was saying earlier, it's like I get angry about being angry because I'm like, I don't want to be mad. I don't want to be mad anymore because I understand that, I have a fairly decent understanding of the dynamics and going, this is creating my reality. I'm affecting others with my negativity, even though I might not be, I'm not mean to people out there. Like if I'm driving in my car, I might be like, oh God, this or that. But, I'm not mean to people. I think I shared with you earlier too, that I'm mean to myself mostly.
Mhm.
Or, so
Also, too, when you carry the vibe that you carry is the vibe that you carry into other situations with other people.
yes. So I think that's an important piece to
We really
remember.
can't hide anyway. You know, we think we are, but we're not. We're not hiding.
Right.
All of us are going by how, what do they feel like vibrationally? That's what, look at kids. Just watch them. They'll be in a room, they'll be playing around, and then one of the adults gets upset, angry, right? And they'll all turn and look without them even saying nothing, and they'll skedaddle out of there because they can feel that vibration. They
Yeah.
know it's time to go now. And you can see it in dogs, especially cats. Cats are like vibrational masters. They know all of that.
Mm.
They'll move towards you when your vibration is in a better cadence, and they'll move against you if it's not. And that's where you get, some animals, they can sense that ugliness behind the mask, right? They're not looking
Yeah.
at your mask that you hold out to the world to see. They're looking at what's underneath that, what's under the hood.
Yeah.
They can feel all of that. Well, see, we can't really hide, and they can feel all of that. And so here, this animal senses this person. It's like, oh no, I don't think so, and they won't go near them. I've seen that a bunch of times.
Hmm.
So if
Yeah.
the dogs and cats are coming up to you, you're doing okay.
Well, would you speak around that? Well, the dynamic of going out and going out into the world and interacting into your reality, and because it does require a great deal of effort to call yourself out on it, um, and to be present. Like, I find that incredibly difficult, to be present, and then to also to remind myself too that I'm putting that vibration out there anyway. We can all deny it all day long. Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, I have a little side question really quick, and
Go ahead.
this is on the selfish side, because I really want to understand this. And this sounds okay. Forgive me. I'm not a horrible person. I don't want you to think I'm mean, but I have a lot of fear, and I am angry about certain things. I
It's
have to
okay.
admit that, because
You are where
it's
you
my
are.
pain. It's because it hurts, right? It's pain. It's
It is
painful.
pain. It is.
Oh, and okay. So when there's someone who is really, really, in your own experience, not a nice person, they've done some pretty shady things and mean things, right? That sounds so bad, but you know what? I'm going to be authentic here, and I'm going to ask it.
You did.
Why does nothing go wrong in their reality?
Oh, it
It's
does.
like
You just
it's
don't see it all.
it's like they're sauntering. I feel like they're sauntering through life, and there's no accountability. It doesn't see, and I'm like, well, then I ask myself, like, why do you need them to have accountability? That's not your journey. That's theirs. But it's my anger, right? Because I can
What
swing it.
about
I always
you?
swing it
You
back to
can't
me.
see everything that's happening in their life. You don't know what's going to happen next year. You don't know what's going to happen, because some things are in like little bigger loops, but wherever
Mm.
you are is where you're at. And I've seen, I mean, you can look out in media right now and see where these people were getting away with a lot of stuff. And oh, it's like, how do they get away with all that? Well, guess what? They're not. They call
That's
it
very
karma, but
true.
it's not really karma. It's really you, right? And
Okay. Okay. That's a good point.
it's
Okay.
coming back. It's a boomerang. It's coming back.
Okay. So then,
You may not see it yet.
okay. So that's what's okay. I want to ask about that, because what we put out there is what comes back to us.
Yes.
So I wonder, like, what is the dynamic of the I don't know how to word it properly. The time frame of how it, because like you're in your
So do you want
reality and
justice? Is it you want justice? You want, so okay, it's a person you perceive to be a bad person, right? And is it that you want them to feel pain because they're not a good person?
there is some of that, but I think more of me, because I still have pain around it for sure. And, but there more of me wants to understand the dynamic of it because they're just fine. And I'm going, wow, they feel they're okay with themselves. They feel okay. They're okay with that kind of behavior and they're okay that they treat people like that. So, and I get it. That's where their level of awareness, but
Well, they think it will see, and they have a different, awareness around it. They think the things they do are justified. It's like,
okay.
if they perceive that someone's is not doing what they need to be doing, they feel that they are justified in yelling at someone or being horrible to someone because they deserve it. It's part of that punishment thing. You're going to get my punishment because I'm going to give you. But really, people who are giving out
Yeah, yeah,
punishment are the
yeah.
ones in the wrong.
Right. Yeah, no, that piece, that brought me back because I think we touched on that before too. And I had been doing some thinking and I was like, "Oh my God, that's why because they're punishing other people because they've okay.
They see
Um
themselves as the arbiter of justice, and
and it's
and
but it's their pain, right? It's their pain. So they're punishing other people because they've been punished. And so they're just okay. But now I don't know why I want to understand this as far as like the loop, like the maybe is it around the awareness? Is it around because I want to grow so much that I'm feeling the consequences more?
it's because you have set your intent to grow. So you're going
Okay.
to start getting whatever it is that you need to evolve from where you are,
Okay.
change yourself
All right.
into what you want.
So if you don't have that intent and then you're just that kind of person, like you were um, pointing to what's going on in our culture right now with that specific thing. Um, so they just never had their intent was just to keep doing what they were doing. And so that just became their reality the whole time.
Well, they never saw themselves as having any issues.
Right. Yeah.
But I guarantee you, every one of them is full of fear because we
Yeah,
all are.
exactly.
It's the nature of our
Right.
consciousness in this realm right now. We're all full of fear. That's the reality of it. And that's the problem. And that's the only way out of this. I've been working on it for 30 years. It's the only way I found that even does anything to it.
Okay.
The only thing that even
Yeah.
affects it is the only thing that changed my reality was when I started addressing the vibrations that I carry around all the different subjects. If I feel this group of people are bad because of that, or that group of people is bad over that, that is a vibration in me. It's changing those vibrations. That's the only way things in our reality change, because our reality is a reflection of our vibration.
Yeah. Okay, so then when you recognize those certain things within yourself, you carried the intent that you want to get rid of that fear and you want to grow, and then you would just recognize it all day, every day.
And then,
And
well, just, as you're moving through your day, there's just not a whole lot of bad things that can happen to you, like for instance while you're brushing your teeth and getting ready, doing your thing. You just move through your environment, and then, as you move through it, since you've set an intention to heal yourself, basically is what you're doing, then the system can bring you the experiences that you need to do exactly that.
okay.
And that's why it's good when you set your intent to do this. That's why it's so good that you really watch what's happening in your experience. Because then, and that's why, the next subject we'll talk about of how this work is actually done and how it actually does something. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so as you're moving through your day, well, guess what? You haven't made any plans. There's nothing in concrete. You're just, moving through your day. It gives the system a lot of leeway to bring into your experience the exact experience that you need to
Oh my
heal the
God,
exact specific thing that you have going on.
that's so cool.
Yeah. It's
No,
trying to
it's
help
really,
you.
really cool.
It
And
doesn't look like it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's trying
It's
to help you.
and we're so used to like that control factor without even really realizing it that we're controlling everything, right? Or attempting to.
Or well, you can't, but everybody tries, I've noticed.
Yeah, or we think we are, right?
But we're
And now I'm
actually in
learning.
control of very little. Really.
Yes. That's what I was conversing with
We're
myself
not in control
earlier.
of
I'm
other
like,
people. That's probably why they make us mad. We're not in control of them.
yeah,
Okay. And half the time we're not even in control of ourselves. So what
yeah.
are we really controlling here?
Oh man.
I know.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
Exactly. Right there. It's huge. It's huge because that letting go part is so freaking scary.
But when you let go, it's
Okay.
also feels so good because now it's a whole ton of stuff you don't even have to worry about or do.
Okay, so
It's
would you share?
exhausting trying to control the whole
Oh my god.
thing.
It's
It's a lot of work.
and it oh cripes and it doesn't even work, you know,
It
when you
does.
start seeing
Well, it
but
just always ends up
would
the same.
would you share like how how that looked for you, the letting go part? Like how did you start letting go and then how did you see it changing your reality?
Well, it was just, a couple of steps in there. But when I knew that the experiences I was having was me, really me, and I was doing it. And that's why here we are in front row seat. It's all about me because I'm doing it. That's why I
I
started
love
saying
that.
that because I noticed that that was about me, and those things that were coming up was fear, and it was around my fears, my personal fears. And as I started looking at those, and at the same time, I was also learning that I'm not in control because once you start set your intent to do this work, you're not in control, and some of the craziest things happen. And it's like, okay, I don't even know how this is even happening, right? And I just kind of realized that I wasn't in control. And then I really dug deep into learning about human behavior, my own too, and
Okay.
that I have free will, and I don't have free will over everybody else. I only have my own free will. I can only make my own choices. I can't make choices for other people. Yes, you can make choices for your kids, but most of the time, most of it's controlling, and
Right. Yeah.
yeah. And so it's, yes, you can control children. We can control certain things, but we're really not controlling them. All we're really doing is manipulating, right?
Yes.
We're
Oh
just
my yeah. Oh my god.
we're just being manipulative because we don't have control over other people. And I think that a lot of those pieces I just learned along the way. I'm 61 now, so I learned a lot, and I was a nurse for a long time. See, and you really learn you're not in control when you're a nurse.
Yeah.
You can't control people when they're well. Try to control them when they don't feel good. Woo, you got a badger by the tail. And you can't.
Yes.
And so it really taught me to step back away from people's decisions because, you know, it was so funny. Well, you'd go in and you tell a patient, this is what's going to happen. This is what you're doing, and it's like, then they're like, no, I'm not. I'm not doing that.
Right.
Or they're, they have lost so much control that they want to control, themselves and what's around them. And if you don't let them have their control, they lose a head gasket because they're already on reserves, right? And they will fight you over their free will. They're not like well people. They're very different. So I think that's just where I learned to stop being so controlling towards other people. Now, I
Okay.
occasionally it does come in, but I know, And then I'll circle back and I'll say, excuse me, I need to go check myself. Sorry about that. I'll be back. If I do try to manipulate or try to control someone, because
Yeah.
it's always coming out of fear. It always is. But see,
Oh, always.
I had years of, it was 20 years of hundreds of people, just one after the other. And so I learned a lot about human behavior in those times. And
Okay.
where I start and they begin and they end, right? So I was able to learn that stuff a little quicker because I was enmeshed in it
Okay.
every single day. And I figured out that I didn't have any control. And
Yeah.
the only way I was able to get things done that needed to be done, and to get the help to the person, because you have the surgery. Well, you've got to get up and move afterwards. If you don't, it goes all downhill for you. You have to move and do these things. So what I started doing is I changed my behavior, and actually it was just going more into being kind. It made me a kinder
Okay.
person. See, so and I started the rudimentary parts of, oh wow, this person has just had this huge surgery, like say a knee replacement. They've just had their whole knee replaced, right? That hurts. Okay, so there they are. Now somebody walks out. Okay, it's time for you to stand up. No, yeah. So just putting myself in their shoes, and see, that's another thing of how to let go of that ego, is just always working on putting yourself in other people's shoes, and it gets the ego me out of the way so that you can interact with that person, and they're not just interacting with your ego defense system, right? And so I had a
Hmm.
lot of practice in that situation of working with
Okay.
people, and it taught me a lot of
Oh,
what.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it did. And then but I didn't really understand, all of what was happening. I'd learned about people there. Then when I got the information about, how fears affect us, and that fears are just a handle that's on our back that we can be manipulated
Yes.
by. And then when I saw that one, oh wow, you need to get rid of those fears, because otherwise you're just being tossed from pillar to post by all the different things, and you're in a constant state of anxiety. Well, and from being a nurse for so long, I did have a little bit of anxiety, because it was not an easy job. And so that anxiety, it kind of pushed me into, I need to find something that's relaxing and that calms me down, and to try to stay in those, vibrations more often, instead of the fight, flight, panic, oh no, we're all going to die thing. And
Right.
I think that's why I'm the way I am. When things do get to that space, I will work really hard to get out of that space, because I know that it's just causing me more and more anxiety. And so that's when I brought in walking, doing things that were more peaceful and uplifting for myself. And then I started doing all of that stuff, because there is things that we need here as living in these avatars, that we need fresh air. We need to get out, and we need to clear the cobwebs out. And so I think it was just my life path was kind of just how I got to where I am right now. It was just all of the different things. So I think I answered your question and added a whole bunch of stuff there.
Yeah.
But
That was that. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And would you speak to the the aspect of letting go? Because I think it's a huge thing of letting go and
letting
letting
go
the
of the
system.
control. Well, right. That tool was forced out of my hand. I had, you don't get to have that. Um, so if you're just, working on it, the parts about letting go, it's like, well, just watch what you're doing. You know, Someone comes into the room. Are you trying to control what they're doing, what they're talking about? Are you, you know, just are you trying to manipulate? What are you, how do you actually interact with people? Just watch what you do. You
Yeah, it's
know,
not so much for
if they
me,
come
it's
in and then you're
more
like,
of
oh, give me that,
myself.
give me that. Oh, here, you need this. When you're doing all of that stuff, that's it. You're being controlling. And like when I walk into a room, I'm not, say somebody walks into my house. I don't do anything. Just wait till something happens. They say something, then I'll answer back or whatever. But I don't. I You know,
Yeah.
I say you need something to drink, but I don't like move anything they have, you know. Uh, it's it's learning to not encroach on other people's boundaries and whatever they've got in
Yeah.
the 3 foot space around them. Well, that's theirs and they're doing it. Let them do
And I
them.
think sometimes I think there's also an element of going, oh, we think we're being helpful, right? We think we're being helpful. Because I know for myself with my kids, obviously, I mean, like, I love them to the ends of the beyonds, you
Well,
know, but,
yes.
and I was thinking about this stuff and I'm like, oh my God, you are literally trying to control how their life goes. And I'm not physically doing it with them because they're busy, they have their own lives and they go about it and stuff. But I catch myself going, oh, I should call him and tell him about this. Oh, I should call. And I was like, holy crap. It's just like when they were growing up,
Mhm.
because I have so much emotional pain that I wanted to save them from that emotional pain, which you can't, it just doesn't work. But
But
it's
you don't
almost,
want them to be in the pain that you had because you love your kids, right? You don't want them to have
yes.
any of that stuff, you know?
Yeah. But then I
Once
didn't
they
give them
start
the
growing up, you start
tools.
seeing, oh, they're gonna have it no matter what I do.
Exactly. Right there. I'm like, those are the things, because like what we're talking about here, getting rid of the fear. You have to face it. You have to experience it. You have to go through that
Mhm.
in order to get to the other side of it, release it. And so by me doing that with my kids, they weren't going through the painful experiences they needed to build that strength of how to handle it, you
Yeah.
know? And so it's like, and just seeing that for myself
But
and
don't
then
worry,
trying
they'll
not to.
catch up.
Oh yes, trust me, there was some crazy shit that went down in the last 5 years, some pretty messed up stuff. I was like, wow, thank you, LCS, thank you.
Now they get to
This,
learn it, you know, and they're going to be more
holy shit.
resilient because of it. Nobody's going to die. They're okay. They're living their
Well,
life.
then I catch myself though going, oh my God, I don't think he processed through this. I don't think he processed, right? I catch myself going, oh, he didn't process. I got to make sure maybe he
Ah,
should do this. So I guess, yeah, there is a lot because I'm so afraid I don't want him to hurt.
see what fear does, and then you get in there and
Yes.
manipulate stuff, and then you're all you're really
Uh,
doing is making their life harder because you're keeping them from having the lessons and the things that they need.
yes. Yep. Oh, holy crap. And there's that letting go. And that
Yeah,
shit's hard. Oh
life
my
is
God.
hard. Just once you accept
Oh,
that
yeah.
piece, then you're done. Really, it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Okay,
like what I think it was like that book,
next.
Neil Donald Walsh's book. The first sentence, or is it like Dr. Scott Peck, The Road Less Traveled? I don't know. But years ago, I read it. And the one sentence I remember is life is difficult because it is.
It is.
And then as
It
we
hurts.
grow, though, it
Life is
becomes
difficult,
less.
and it has pain in it. That's just what it has. Once you accept those two things, then you're well on your way. And it has pain in it. I mean, just look at what it takes to get bring new life into this world. There's pain all around all of it. So there's pain here. There's and there's challenges that we face. Those two things are a fact. And the only thing that's optional is suffering. And that's how you get rid of the suffering, is to get rid of the fear, because then that gets rid of the suffering, because then you just know what's going on. We're all in this together to grow and evolve. Nothing
Yeah.
has gone wrong. It's doing its
Oh,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
And
just
accepting
embracing
it.
that.
Accepting it. That's just the
Yep.
way it is. And accepting other people the way they are.
Yep.
I had trouble with that forgiveness thing. You know, I had, for there was things that I felt like, were wrong that happened to me in my life, like we all have. And I just couldn't get to that forgiveness piece. I couldn't get there. And I worked on it and worked on it. It's like, well, I know they didn't mean to hurt, me in those ways. And I know they didn't mean to do that, and then it was just like, you know what? They had their own fears. They were in their own headspace. They had all this drama going on around them at the time, and you know what? That's just where they are. Once I accepted that's just where they are in this mess, then I was able to let it all go. It's like, well, they couldn't have done anything any different. See?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is a huge piece because I've gotten a little bit better with that.
Yeah.
So it's, and I remind myself, I'm like, they're literally just where they are, like yourself. And it makes a huge difference because it brings me back. It brings me back from living in my fears again. And then, and it reminds me of my intent of becoming love. And I do want to be that kind, loving, patient, helpful, caring, thoughtful,
Yeah.
all of those beautiful things.
We
But
don't
it
want to
also
be Shrek living under the bridge.
What?
We don't want to be like that guy Shrek living under that bridge. I'm just a troll. I don't feel good. I'm bad. So I'm going to just be here by myself.
Uh,
The beauty of it
well,
is
that's
being
it.
in a place and then being able to get out there in it and interact with it. Then once you grow and you evolve, then you can help others grow and evolve just by being you.
Yes. I love that part so much. I love
And
that.
everybody can do it. Anybody can do but it's just, I don't know. I think that in some ways, it's almost like you have to have enough pain here to get there. It's like, and I think both of us have had enough pain. It was like, okay, I get it. I'm going to go this
Whoa.
way. I'm going to try this, and this is going to be better. And I'm going to learn and try to be the best Cheryl I can be the best Pamela I can be. Because as I grow and change, it changes everything around me, and it makes it worth it. And in the beginning phases, when you first start accepting these things about ourselves and you look at it and you feel it, it does not feel good. It doesn't.
No. No, it doesn't. And it's
But it gets better over
that
time and it gets easier and it doesn't stay the same. So that's why the work I've done, if I had it to do all over again, all the pain that it brought to me and all the things that, I would totally do it over again to be where I'm at now and feel the way that I do now. I felt terrible back then anyway. So you're going to
yeah.
feel bad either way.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like what you spoke to. It's like giving birth, it's like holy mother of God, it's like it's so brutally painful and then boom, it's done and you see the baby and I'm like, I would do that again. Like
Exactly.
the baby, you're like instantaneously. I was like, oh, I'm doing it again because it's the love is so profound and it's such a beautiful thing. And then when I was having the second one, I was like, what the hell was I thinking? And
Yeah.
then I hold the baby and I was like,
All
boom,
that
doing it
enough.
again.
Do that again. Yeah.
After the third one, though, I was good.
He's like, okay, that's enough. This is getting chaotic around here.
I get the idea.
Yeah. I've learned what I needed to on this deal. It is, isn't it?
But it's true. It's that pain and that we're also afraid of, that we keep running from because, it is scary, right?
It is. But you can run, but you can't hide because it's that saying, where you go, there you are.
Yeah.
And what is that? There's that other one, resistance is futile.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Because it's like sometimes my sister would always be like, oh, I'm resisting my resistance.
That's a good one.
Right? And I was like, ugh, no, you're not. And I'm like, no, she's not kidding. She was resisting. It's like me being angry about being angry. Right? It's the same thing.
Well, and you can take that even further, if you don't aim it out that way and you aim it in this way, right? And self-depreciate, well, then you can also get mad at yourself for beating yourself up.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, holy crap, it's like I've internalized everything. Like especially when in my extreme unaware places, states, I would lash out, but mostly it was just like constantly put inward. And while this is in my data stream, which again, remember, is very small, but
Oh,
we're working on that.
you're working
Working on
on
it,
that.
right? Oh my God, now I forgot. See, I had to pick on myself.
Well, what I said was you can beat yourself up for beating yourself up, and then you kind of know. Wait a minute, this is a nowhere land. What am I doing here?
Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember. It was something I wanted to ask you for a while, but I better write it down when it pops in again. But yeah, it's just that constant beating yourself up certainly is not helpful. That
No,
there's just and in fact,
it's out of our awareness
working.
too. A lot of times back, when we were younger and stuff, we don't really realize what we're doing. We don't realize that we're being hard on ourselves, that we're it's just anger turned inward at ourselves because we can't, make things go the way we want them to, or, people, we're getting a lot of negative feedback from other people and all of that thing. And so then we just, turn on ourselves and start beating ourselves up. And we're not, I had the same problem. And I still have to work on it, but I didn't even realize that's what I was doing. I didn't realize that I was being
Mhm.
hard on myself over just, things that were happening in my experience. And I think that certain people have propensity to do that.
Yes.
Um, because when you're a child and you're being blamed for things that you didn't do and things that you didn't have anything to do with, well, the problem can't be your mother or your parents because they're your caregivers, right? The problem can't be that. So it has to be me. So that means
Mhm.
it has to be me. So that means I'm the one that's wrong.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And so then,
And that's
okay,
that.
since I'm the one that's wrong, well, I'm the one that needs to get all the berating and punishment that we learned. Then we just start punishing ourselves. It just
And even like certain instances or certain experiences we've had, and trying to understand it, and there's nothing, and there we don't have the capacity to understand it at that time. So then it must be because I'm bad somehow,
yes.
because right? So it's trying to make sense of what's happening, and we don't
Yes.
have what the information around it to help us process that or
Well,
make
yeah, a
sense of
lot of
it.
people, they didn't have that friendly little grandmother showing you the way. See,
Right.
I didn't have any of that. All I had was my mother and my father. I didn't have
Hmm.
that friendly grandparent that comes in and is caring and compassionate, has all that down because they've learned it, right? Over their long lifespan. They've learned
Yeah.
it. See, and
Mm.
without that, the child has no idea that it's not them. That the problem's not them. When you're a child, you're just growing up. You're not the problem,
Right.
you know? So and that's what happens. It gets turned inward. And when I was working on that and not being so learning how to not be hard on myself, I just went through a little few things in my mind in this way is that you don't have to, and I thought, well, oh, I just need to love myself and I'm going to put lots of love there. And that's not the right way either. You don't have to
Hmm.
love yourself. To me, love is something that we give to others, right? It's a vibration that we give and it comes out and they can feel it, right? And we don't need that because we are it, right? We don't need
Yes,
to put up,
exactly.
we're already there, right? You're already
Yes,
at the
we are that.
destination.
Yeah, that is such a cool part.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
I
what
love that.
what
Well, that's
what
everything.
you can do is just, okay, I'm not going to hate myself. You know, I could be so much worse. I mean, and look around you. I said, oh, I could be a much worse person than what I am. So I'm not going to hate myself. I'm going to give myself some grace here and say, I'm doing the best I can. And if someone doesn't like that or whatever, then I can always just move away from it, and just go, be me somewhere else or do something
Right.
else, and work on it if I have those feelings come up, It's like, well, yeah, that's there, and just accepting it, and it's okay. And it's okay. But it's not okay to continue to do something that's just harming me. Yeah.
Right.
Because that's all you're really doing is you're just being harmful to yourself.
Right. Yeah. You know, okay.
Because our energy
You
is
talk
powerful, and it's a powerful energy, and you aim that in a negative way at yourself, it's like you're swimming against the current.
Yeah, oh my God,
Hard
yeah.
just to, get through your day-to-day stuff.
You can, yeah, you can feel that. You can literally feel it.
I found being hard on myself was actually more painful than the fears that I was facing. That was actually more painful than that. So I could really feel that when it would come up, and beating myself up is, oh, I made a mistake there. And it's like, wait a minute, I have to make mistakes. I can't. I have to make mistakes here. They have to be made for me to grow and evolve. So that's a normal part of just living life. So I've got to
Exactly.
make that okay you know, in my world. It's okay to make mistakes. Then I circle back and get my broom out and clean up what I can, you know,
Mm.
and,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
have to leave, if someone else is involved, I don't have to leave it in this big mistake. Then I can go back and I can even be authentic and honest to that other person and say, I'm really apologize about that. I was unaware of this, or and that those choices I made there were not good, and I apologize if that affected you in any way. So, and if they're a decent person, or then they understand. It's like,
Right.
yeah, I've made mistakes before too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And it opens them up a little bit to go, you know what? I didn't really handle that great either,
yeah,
you know? It
yeah.
just
And
kind of
every time
opens
you
that
approach
up.
it, and you're just deal with the fear and don't puff yourself up. Tell ego to go over there and just say, I made a mistake. Just practice it. You know what I used to do? And see, I used my job. It was like my own little laboratory, and I would do experiments, And this one week was I was okay. This is own up week, because before, my supervisor would come to me with little mistakes that I'd made, because they're very particular in nursing, and the nurse directors of these big, home health agencies, they're tough. They're
Okay.
they're tempered steel, and they're tough. And so instead of trying to make excuses, oh well, I did that for that reason or whatever. And I said, I'm going to just practice, and I practiced with them. I was like, I'm going to go. Yep, I made a mistake. Well, yep, I did it. I did that. And let's see what happens. And you know what was the weirdest thing out of all of that? They wanted to bend over backwards to help me correct it or
Wow.
fix it. They didn't get mad. Here's what's making people mad is when you go back and you start making excuses for what you did. Well, I
Right.
did it because of this, or I did it because of that. And that's what they don't like, because you're not being authentic, and you don't,
Yep.
or you're saying, well, that happened because of somebody else.
Yeah, right.
Well, if
Yes.
they hadn't
Yes.
put the orders where the doctors put in the order, if they hadn't put that over there, then I wouldn't have missed that order, right? Because the doctors come in and they write the orders, and then as nurses, we take those orders and implement them, right?
Right.
And you can't miss those.
Yeah. Oh God.
Well,
Oh my God.
you can, but it ain't good, So, but they do get missed from time to time. You get real
Okay.
busy, and you've got two people falling out of bed, and you've got that one over there, and it gets
Yeah.
crazy there sometimes. And so you really have to just you know hit the big pieces, and let the little details go, and just go with it. And so some things are going to get dropped. But the main thing that they're still alive at the end of the shift. That's all. That's what really matters.
Yes, that's hilarious.
Some of
Well,
those
I
days,
think,
oh my God, everybody lived.
yeah,
It was,
man. Well, I
and it's
think what you're speaking to, I think what you're speaking to is, again, I think is owning it, right? That
yeah,
being that authentic and owning it and going,
oh, yeah,
yeah, I screwed up.
yeah. See,
And that is, it's hard and it's scary. It can be scary, but I mean, how they responded to you, that was really beautiful.
yeah. And you know what? Then I knew I had help. So then when things got dicey, I was more apt to go and ask for help. It's like, I'm going to make a
Right.
mistake if somebody doesn't come over here and help me with this situation. It's, and then it makes you to where you feel more like you can ask for help. So the whole thing of, like you said, owning it, or, admitting to your mistakes, it's a whole experiment. And it taught me things that I had no idea was going on. And there was a song that came out not too long ago, and it was like, there was a line in it that said, "Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me." I wanted that song. Then I just play it, push play. It's me.
Yeah.
I'm the problem. It's me. And then that opens you up to all these other good things. Austin, your vibe just got a little better. And Kitty says,
This
"Oh,
is
you feel
Celty.
nice."
And then
See,
we got Sassy over here. My two babies. Ugh, they're beautiful. They're beautiful.
it's
They
a
just they
household.
offer me so much love. They really do.
Oh yeah. Well, then, and they
They're
felt
amazing.
well, and you can use them too as an experiment. When they walk up, you say, "Okay, my vibration is nice right now." Because believe me, if your vibration is super icky, they're not coming anywhere near you. Maybe some cats would,
And
but most of them won't.
it's funny too, because like I look him in the eyes and I talk to him and I'm like, you matter. I'm like, you are so beautiful and thank you for being here with me, and you share a lot of love. And I'm like, their consciousness, right?
Yeah,
I'm like, I want to help you grow too.
in some rudimentary forms. Yeah,
Right?
anything that makes choices is conscious.
Exactly.
It may not be,
Exactly.
to the complicated point of a human consciousness.
Right.
It may not be that complicated, but we wouldn't be doing this had we not come up through those ranks too.
Exactly. Exactly.
We
And
have
it's
a
that
dog
whole
in there. I swear, that's not a dog consciousness.
really?
I, there's just so much more going on there. Yeah,
Yeah, that's so
the dog knows too
amazing.
much. He knows when you're in a good vibe. He knows when you're a bad vibe. He knows when, and then he just shows up. And then, when I'm really working on my vibe and I'm getting myself into a really good feeling place, well, here he comes. You got a nice vibe, lady. I'm gonna sit next to you now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part too, is like paying attention to that. Paying
Yeah.
attention to, I want to get a lot better on watching, observing my reality, and I want to, picking up on the information and stuff, because I'm
Mhm.
so I'm so wrapped up in getting rid of my fear that I think I said it on one of the other ones, that I'm not in my process, right? That it's like I'm always in that intent. Okay, I'm getting rid of my fear. I wanna, and then notice, and I'm like, oh my God, you're not even here. You're always in. I got to get rid of my fear. I got to get rid of my fear. Does that make
Well,
sense?
it's letting go of that. I got to get rid of my fear too.
Yes. I'm like, oh my God.
It's just living, just live, and just make it into a big experiment. I wonder what this will
Yeah.
do. Yeah,
Oh,
everything's just an
well,
experiment.
it is. And that's where I have to get to, is just, I was never good at science, just saying. Just, nope.
Well, I get the gist of it. You're just ready to feel a little bit better, and you will in
Yeah.
time. You're just not going to right away. It takes a little bit of time, because it takes a little time for your vibration to really start shifting, and
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Look how long you've been in it, and so it's going to take a little bit to get out of it, you know.
Right. I know. And I think that kind of scares me because I'm like, oh my God, this stuff goes so deep. And I'm like, oh, and I can feel a difference. I have to say that I can feel a difference because, like I said, I've gotten really good at calling myself out on stuff. But the part where I'm constantly going, oh, you gotta you gotta do better, you gotta be better, you gotta do better, you gotta check this fear. And I'm like, I'm so constantly in it that I forget to observe.
Yeah, see, that's part of that self, you know, you're still being a little bit hard on yourself instead of just letting all
Okay.
that go and then just be there in the moment.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
just be there, you know, and just go do something. Go out to dinner without thinking about any of this. I'm not trying to do anything. There is no try. There's only do. You know, just be there in the moment and in the present moment and just watch it. Do
Well, even just like being at work, and I'm like, I'm constantly going, oh, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. And I'm like, please shut the hell up. Like, it's like, I can't, I'm like, wow, Pam, you really have to stop.
okay, come
Because
on now. One thing you could tell yourself is like, this is a new job. I just started. It's going to take a minute.
well, when I was taking accounting classes, I was like, literally, I did not, I thought, I went in going, no, you should know this. I don't know what that is. And so I would read, and especially in accounting too, because it got harder. And I wasn't going further with that because I just wanted to do this other thing. But um, I was, I was like, I don't know what's happening because I couldn't even focus on learning because I was expecting myself to know it already. And I don't even know where that comes from. I don't understand that dynamic. And so
Well,
that's kind of like,
you can just kind of look at your history, you know, were there people around you that were, you know, you really need to be sharp, you need to be smart, you need to do this, you know, you need to be able to pick things up quick and, you know.
well, honestly, I was going to bring this up before, but then it left me. And I was going to say, okay, because I was sharing with you, I come from a huge family, youngest of 12. Bless you, hon. My sister and I just say thank you now. We sneeze and we say thank you.
Thank you.
I don't, I don't know. I don't know. Make sense out of that one. Keep trying.
Thank you.
But it's
Thank you for
all
your
of those.
service and the sneezing outfit.
Well, it's like it's releasing the dust. I don't know. It's clearing out something in my body. Who knows? Oh God. Now, anyway, so coming from a huge family, and then, but there's no good connections. Like my dad died when I was 6, and then, I was the youngest of 12. So there was not a single mentor in my family. Everybody just kind of did their own thing.
Oh, wait a
And
minute.
I had no,
You were the youngest of all of those? You
yeah,
had people telling you what to do. You had 11 people telling you what to do. Because all the older siblings always tell the younger ones what to do.
or they didn't. I mean, they probably did, but most of all, I feel like nobody knew I was there. Because there was a lot of chaos. My dad was always drinking and beating my mom and stuff.
See, that's probably why you're so hard on yourself, because you had kids raising kids. See, you didn't even have parents telling you what to do. You had kids telling you what to do. And kids don't know very much.
No.
And the
I'm the product of that.
Not what they should be doing most of the time anyway. So you know, if you looked a little bit more in that area right there of being the youngest of, so basically you're kind of being raised by kids, because I know that your mom wasn't able to attend to all of that all at the same time. So usually because without a tribe, a community where all that's shared out, it's just one, your dad died. So now there's one person trying to take care of 11 people. Well, she couldn't attend to 11 people.
Yeah. And then it's like my brothers, joined the service, like a couple of them had joined the service at like, because you could do it at 17 back then. But it was interesting because my sister and I were talking about it a little, and it's like no one ever took us under their wing, not a neighbor, not a. So I'm kind of wondering, like, what does that speak to? Like, because in my ripe old age, I'm like, oh man, I want a mentor, and then who shows up? This beautiful human being.
Oh, no, no, not me. I just been through a lot and I can talk about it. But
Yeah, well, you
if
share
they
a great
help you, I'm
deal.
glad. That's
Well, you're sharing a lot, and so I was just like, not that for a while I was like, I didn't get why I was it because I felt so alone that nothing showed up, or like how would that work to
well,
have not even like a relative show up?
well, you think about it back then, okay, right at the age group that you're at, they're just coming out of the Great Depression. And it hadn't been that long. It was all hands on deck. There, and if they did, have enough at that point, they still had the fear. Oh my God, there's not enough, because everybody got super scared. Had a lot of fear around that one. I still see that fear playing out in a lot of different ways that came directly from that time span. And so if you've got a lot of people, even if they did have extra time, they're probably putting in extra work to make more money so that they didn't ever have to go without again, because people went without. They didn't have enough food. They didn't have
Yeah.
enough of nothing.
I guess I'm kind of speaking to was it my vibration because there wasn't like a a teacher, or I don't know. I was just pondering that, going, there wasn't, or maybe I was just meant to figure it out by myself. Maybe that was the case this go
Well,
around, because then that's kind of what forced me into having to deal with it myself, because I kept forcing myself. I had no idea why. I was 15. I started working at 15. I had just turned 15, and um, I was like the quietest person on the planet, man. And I was in the DECA club, so you had that class, so you had to get a part-time job if you wanted to. This girl picks waitressing. Are you nuts? 15, and I was waitressing, and I was the quietest thing on the planet. So I forced myself to do certain things along the way. So maybe that was kind of more speaking to, not that they didn't show up for me. I mean, that probably hurt a lot going through the process, but now it's more of maybe that's what I needed to kind of force me on this path, or not force me, but push me forward on the path of figuring out. Because
yeah, you come in and you didn't have somebody, telling you who you are.
yeah, I mean, inadvertently they did, but
Well, there's a lot of
right.
expectations about what parents want their children to be.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't any, I don't know if there was any expectations around that. I mean, because there wasn't really much. I don't want to, I'm not trying to sound mean to my parents, because they literally were that's just where they were.
Yeah,
And
they did the best they could do. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm totally there with that now, I'm not mad or hurt or any of that, but there was no guidance. I'm sorry, there was literally zero guidance.
Yeah,
Zero.
that's really interesting, that you say that. My mother used to say the same thing. How am I supposed to know any of this stuff? Nobody was there, to teach me anything. I was just there at my grandmother's house destroying it, because my mother was an orphan by the time she was 7 years old. And my father was an orphan by the time he was 13. So they didn't have any information of any of it. And that's probably
Yeah.
what happened to you too, is whatever this thing that our ancestors went through, it was bad. And the information didn't get passed from that generation to the next one. Right. And
Yeah.
so they're just in it going, I don't have any idea. All I know is that, and then the kids come, and then then all of that's going on. So I think that our history and the longer history you go back, well, there was just things that happened that caused the loss of our information, the loss of our understanding about certain things, and but it's all information, so we can just all go get it right back. So it doesn't matter what came before, really.
Right.
It's
I mean,
just
because you got to you got to process what you have to process.
right, because here we are. This is where we're at now. It doesn't matter really how we
Exactly.
got here, and what it
Yep.
is that I see is there's not a lot of the correct information. The information around fears or feeling shame about ourselves and who we are, and all of that information is not even in there. I never heard about working through fears, until I found,
Right.
yeah. I mean, had I known, I would have started a long time ago. I would have started sooner, So that's
Yeah.
why I was thinking about, doing something a little bit different, because what I found is that I learn the most when I am interacting. In interaction, that's where the rubber meets the road, and that's where you can see yourself. That's where you can really, really, really see yourself. And so,
Yeah.
and that's why I started having more interactions with more people, and the more relationships, the better, because that's where it's all at, and that's where you can see it, and that's where they can see theirs, and that's where you can grow and recover the fastest. So I was thinking about starting this little thing called the Fear Recovery Institute.
That's amazing.
Well, it sounds
Seriously,
great.
because that's so well said. It's actually really perfect.
It sounds too formal, but it's really funny because the information got lost. We need to name it something. We got to recover this information, and the information is really helpful because, when you look at the healing from trauma or recovery, any of that kind of stuff, in the traditional like talk therapy and things like that, they don't work. Yes, they can help you get a little bit better understanding about yourself, and there are ways that it can help some people, but for the most part, what I found is it did not help me. It didn't help me with what I was really wanting, which was to feel better. I couldn't feel better because I was too scared, and I had too much misunderstandings about what was going on in my reality. So I couldn't
Yep.
get there with those therapies. And so I spent a week I just spent some time talking to a trained psychotherapist, and we went all through this data just with a fine tooth comb. And as we were talking, I said, well, what I have found is that I have to be an experience. It has to be an experience before I can really see it and really grow from it. I have to be in relationship with someone else, so that within the interaction going back and forth, and me being authentic, then I can, as things happen, then the way I react to it, see that I can see my stuff, they can see theirs. And it's almost just like helping each other, step through the process at a much faster rate than spending, 10 years in therapy. And now I have found that just a few years of doing close relationship work, I've gotten way down the road than I did on anything else. And so, I asked her questions around that, and she goes, well, I found that to be true. It's that sometimes when you just talk about everything that's happened, to you in your past and your history, you're just reactivating all of that, and it can kind of re-traumatize. And I said, that's what I found too. I said, that's why I think it's better to let go of the past and start from where we're at work, And she said that she did start doing things a little bit different when she started seeing that. And she said that I was absolutely right, that growth and healing comes through interaction with others. That's where it comes from. So what I'm going to do is, have a fear recovery clinic, because there's just not enough information, and there's people that really are looking for the information, like you, like your sister.
Yes.
I've met other people that are in the same situation, and anybody that wants the information, well, they can get it, and so I'm going to just have, just come to Texas, hang out,
Yeah.
just let things happen, and you don't have to plan anything. Just get here, and I think that you and your sister should come too, and I think we should all just have a good time and learn and grow and heal. That's what I'm going to do, and I think I'm going to do it in about a month. And I just
That's
started thinking about it yesterday, so I think it's a good idea because and I want to grow too. So if everybody there has the same intent, well, it'll do it. It'll just do
yeah.
it. I don't have to do anything. So just move forward with it. So
And
I
I
think,
think people are thirsty. I really do. I think people are thirsty for more understanding around it because, it has to be experiential, but when we have a better understanding around it, we can better navigate through it. We can better identify what it is that we're that we're comprised of, right? Like what that
yeah.
fear is around.
Yeah. It's
I
like,
don't know.
what am I looking at here? And I've just
Yeah.
spent a lot of time of what am I looking at here and thinking about it. So
Yeah.
I can kind of discern certain pieces of it now.
Yes. That sounds absolutely amazing and exciting. And I am thrilled to pieces because I'm all in.
I think it'll be a lot of
It's,
fun because not only, I mean, the work will be there and that's okay, but it'll be fun too.
oh, definitely. Well, I
Looking
mean,
forward.
this is my fun. That sounds so that sounds so bad. I'm like, this is my fun. And I'm like, well, we need to tweak that a little, Pam.
We need to
But
have
I
some
love it so much.
fun.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, that sounds amazing. I am looking
Yeah.
forward to hearing more of like how, what I'm just looking forward to hearing a little more about it. But like you said, we're just gonna
We'll just move forward with
let,
it. And I like the idea, you like the idea, and I'm going to talk to some other people and see what they think, and they'll give me more information. So right now I'm
yep.
just in the data collection phase of it. I'm just getting all the information I need and going to go from there. And then once I get it coalesced and into okay, I'm going to do this at this time. So once I get that done, then
Yeah.
I'll let everyone know what's going to happen next. And I think it's going
Yeah.
to be a lot of fun. I've had just so many experiences, in this realm about what's going on with reality that I don't know everything, but I do know some little specific pieces of it that I've encountered over and over again. And I can tell it to you in a way you've encountered it too, and this what we're doing and how this place functions is not what we thought. It's just not. It's it's not what it is. And it's designed to trick you. It's designed that way to make you think that you are in this life, but you're really probably in some kind of computer somewhere. I don't know. We can't get outside of it to see it, and that part doesn't really matter. But if I'm going to be doing some game somewhere in a digital game, I want the instruction sheet.
Yeah. I want cheat codes.
Give me, I want to learn the stuff, but I don't necessarily want to cheat. But hacks,
No, I was
I
kidding.
always love a good hack. Give me a good hack,
Right.
and I'm going to use it and move forward and evolve and do what I came here to do. And
Right.
yeah, and then once you're doing what you came here to do, you can feel it, and it feels
Yeah.
good, and you feel like, okay, I'm on task. Instead of just,
Yeah.
lost in the sauce going, what is all this shit?
Right.
Yeah.
Just treading just to stay above
Yeah.
trying
You
to
got
make
your nose right above water and you're going,
exactly.
there's got to be more to this.
There has to.
Can
Well,
somebody throw me a life ring?
yeah.
It is, isn't it?
And it's that understanding too of going, wow, all of the we have all the information is there, and
Mm-hmm.
it's our particular data stream which filters it to what we actually see, which ties into what you were saying before about the fear. The fear is taking up space or whatever you want to call it, so we don't have access to more of the information, right? Because the
Well, it's
fear
like
is,
fear is your reality. Then as you walk out into
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
world, then it becomes your reality. And it
yeah, yeah,
and sometimes, it's just in such a weird, funny form that you don't recognize it as such. Right?
yes,
I knew somebody had this thing they were doing with their cell phone. Now, this was funny. They would, it's not anybody who you think it is either. This was a long time ago, about 5 years. They had one of these. They were going, I hate these phones. These things are so hard to deal with. And they just make me so mad sometimes. And just talking about this phone, right? And I mean, it wasn't 30 minutes. They dropped the thing and it just crashed into pieces. And I was just like, well, you said you hated it. Now you don't have to deal with it anymore. See, I mean,
oh
it's just,
wow,
and it happened so fast. I was like, oh my God. They was thinking those
wow,
thoughts, and those thoughts were negative towards that phone, and now the phone is dead. It needs to be buried in the backyard because it ain't ever going to work
yeah,
again. And and then they would say, I've always had trouble with these phones.
yeah,
See,
yeah,
see how your thoughts click into the reality and makes it so. So what we're doing is that, and that's how we create our reality. That's why we create our fears. It's why we create our loves, our compassions. We create all of it. But if you're thinking about, oh, and sitting around thinking how much you appreciate someone or how much you love someone, that's creative too. It all is.
yeah.
Here we are on the front row seat. It's all you. You're
It's
good.
all you.
It's all
I
you,
love
baby.
that. Yep, that's so good because you're doing it. That's really a good tagline. It really is because it's truly because it's so true. Like you're
It is
doing
true.
it.
It can sound mean at some point, but it's true. I know. Well, even if something's true, you don't have to say it. It's like, well, somebody needs to say it at some point, isn't it? How are we going to get anywhere if nobody says anything? Oh,
Right.
you're doing it. It's like, oh, don't say that. That'll make them feel bad about themselves. It's like, oh, I would never do this to myself. It's like, well, no, you're doing it unawares. You're not
Exactly.
aware that you are a creator being of some sort here. So if you're not
Yeah.
aware, well, then you're not the one. It's not like, oh, look at you, you bad little human, creating bad things. Well, if they don't know they're creating bad things, they're not being a bad little human. They're just being ignorant of the situation.
Yeah. It's just coming from an unaware space because I'm like, Pam, if you had known all those years ago, if you had awareness around it, you wouldn't have made that choice.
Exactly.
That's
It's exactly it. So yeah. And you can't, you can't be better till you know better.
and also, I mean, some people just aren't ready, right? Some people just aren't ready, and the ones that are ready will be drawn to it. And
Yeah.
again, it's not an easy ride. I mean, it's been agonizing, honestly. You know that. Like physically, it was insane. Like I was like, I think I'm losing it. It was absolutely crazy. I didn't even know what the hell was going on. And my body is just finally coming out of it and calming down. I still have weird shit going on that I have no idea what it is, you know, but I mean, I'm like, I have the intent of going, you know um, what I need to do for my health will show up then. It will show up. You shared some of that stuff with me, which I'm definitely doing. I am 100% doing, and I'm very excited about it.
Starting
But
to
I've
feel a
had to
little
walk.
calmer.
Well, no, I haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah.
Like I have to get the stuff, but I'm definitely going to do it because I can feel that it resonates with me, right? It resonates with me.
Yeah,
But
all we probably really have to do is just say the word lavender and just calm ourselves down that way.
Yeah.
Instead of actually having to
But
eat it.
yeah, well, and it's like because
But
I
I'm
had
not
to,
that powerful yet.
right. It's like we have to get
Eat
there.
lavender.
Well, because there's so much fear around it. And I'm like, no, you being so afraid is actually going to make it worse. You have
Yes.
to calm down and you have to allow the healing to
Yeah.
take place because you're the one that's going to heal you.
We
Did
heal
you ever
ourselves and we make ourselves sick. Is what we're doing.
did you ever, this is kind of weird, but it's kind of like childlike. But did you ever like as you were growing and I know it's an ongoing process for sure. I mean, that's
Yes.
kind of like doesn't even need to be said, right? It's like we know that for sure. But like, did you? Because sometimes I'm like, I'll get really pissed off about something. I'm like, I can't. This is messed up, man. This is like messed up. I'm sick of this shit. And then I'm like, oh, I probably pissed off the LCS. Now I'm not going to get any help. And I'm like, how fear comes into that. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it does, dear, remember front row seat because you're doing it.
Well, see, I had thoughts around that, and I was just like, you know what? The system already knew I wasn't going to pass that little thing. So, and then it does do stuff that's funny that makes you laugh because it's just
Okay.
it's like it's like a tandem, and you're just working with it, and I don't know where I stop and it begins. I think we're all just part of it, and
Yeah,
it's us and
that's a good
we're it,
point.
it's just in the
Yeah.
non-physical part of it, right? And we're in the physical part of it, but it's all the same thing because then that's what
Yeah.
we're saying. Consciousness is the foundation that drives everything else, which means even if these are VRs that we're in, even if it is a simulation, it's coming out of consciousness. It's the foundation. So consciousness would be the computer and it's non-physical.
Right.
So it created this VR I'm in, me, and all of it. So it's me. It's just all there. It's all the same thing. It just doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
But it would
Right.
be a way to change the
So
consciousness. Trick yourself into thinking that you're in a completely different realm and then put a part of yourself in there, right? So that it's going to learn through that fake experience.
okay, say that again, please.
I don't even think I can. We're gonna have to rewind it here.
Yeah, okay, I can do that.
No, well, just if that's true, that consciousness is the foundation, it created these VRs to put itself into.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And we're part of that consciousness that made this VR, that
Yes.
put ourselves in it. So I know that it's me and I'm it. So it really doesn't care what I'm doing in this physical reality because this physical reality is not even real anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So
No, that's not the right word. It's not that it doesn't care. It cares about my growth. I've seen parts of that it does care about that. But it does not care about suffering. It doesn't see it as real. Why would it care if there was suffering? Because it's not real anyway, and what would it do to get itself to grow? Well, I know pain would do it. pain will push it
wow.
along. That'll get their attention.
Hence the full immersion
Yeah.
experience, right?
Yeah, that'll get their attention. And then, when you start realizing, okay, consciousness is the foundation. So it's kind of running the show anyway. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it is, but it isn't. Because I have free will.
Right.
I'm making the choices. But the consciousness is emanating my reality. It's the consciousness that's doing all that. The only part I have control over is the free will piece. That's it. I just get to make the choices. So So the larger system is making these experiences that I'm in. And then what I do is look at it and go, what should I do in this situation?
Right.
Yeah. So that's really the only control I have is what choices I'm making. Am I being manipulative? How am I being? And, I've noticed that when I'm asleep, I'm going through all of these like morality tests. Okay, there's a scenario, and this
Mm.
happens, and then this happens, this happens. So what choice would you make? It's like it's almost like testing, the quality of my consciousness in morality and ethics. And we do have that within all of us. It's there. I think that's why we get into so much trouble when we go against it, because it doesn't feel good.
Right.
Because there are
Yeah.
moral laws here, you know? There are. If you do something bad to someone, there are consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if someone tells you to do something wrong and then you go do the wrong thing, it's not the one that told you to do it that gets all those consequences. It's the one that actually does the act or does the thing. That's where the consequences go. See, so that's why if someone's, or if anything's telling you to be ugly, well, it doesn't get any of the consequences, and then it gets to use your energy for whatever it wants.
Right.
Yeah. So there's that.
Mm.
That's a good topic too. We'll have to cover that one. That's a whole topic in itself. But the point of the thing is we can't see it. We can't get in. We are consciousness. We can't get out of the consciousness so we can look at it. That would be like watching yourself be born. We can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
All we can do is share stories, compare notes. Hey, what's happening to you? I don't know, but this is what the sequence of events, and what do you think it is? And then reading and just doing, your due diligence. And if you've already had this information, from lifetime to lifetime, and your memory got wiped and you just forgot, it's going to be easier for you to get to that information because you've already got an intent to have it. You've already had it. It's in there. It's in your consciousness. You just got to get to it. So that's why,
Right.
a lot of times being in this realm, it'll surprise you, the information that you can get to, because, you obviously have been working on this before, or you wouldn't be standing here talking to me.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
You've probably had an intent for a while. It's like, okay, I'm tired of this dysfunction. the
Holy Lord, yeah.
computer has given you enough data to know that this ain't working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of cool though when you can look at it from when you're able to look at it from a space of going, no, this really has been for my growth. This really then I can look at it and go, that's what all of that was. And I was like, oh my God, how many times did I seriously, this entire experience packet, I was experiencing the same freaking thing because I would question myself. And I'm like, you just saw that. I mean, years, I would not believe myself. I would not believe myself. I would not. And I'm like, no. And then finally, all the years later, I'm like, okay, enough is enough. I still question myself because
Yeah.
I don't have trust. That there's a trust factor, but at least I allowed myself enough to. So there was plenty of like information showing me this isn't working. This is not working. But I kept trying to force it to make it work.
Yeah. Well, because you didn't understand certain things. You're just like, well, it's that thing. This isn't working, but if I keep trying, eventually it will work.
Yes, that's exactly. It was like, if I change here out here, but not at the being level change, right?
Right.
Because obviously, I mean, I knew only what I could know of it at the level of awareness I was at the time.
Right.
And so, yeah, it was like, if I behave this way, maybe things will be different. But it wasn't. It was the same way because I wasn't changing at the being level.
Right. And you still had all the fears and everything. You
Yep.
just you just became smarter about what's about that. It is funny because how that same situation kept just relooping and relooping and relooping. It's almost like you just got good at the loop,
Well, but every time it hurt like a mother,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
you
you got
know?
better at doing the loop. It's like that movie, Groundhog Day, right? So every morning he got up and he
Whoa.
got to make all those choices, right? And so then he got better at making the choices, and then he didn't give it. Then he didn't care because he knew he was just going to wake up the next day anyway. And he did everything in that thing, but then in the end, he finally caught it. Oh, it's about the choices that I'm making is what's making it happen again and over again because I'm making the
Yep.
wrong choices. Yeah, so that movie was a good movie.
I mean, like, I think I have to go back and watch the Planes, Trains one because I love I'm serious, even
That's
the
a good one.
example that you gave about Scrooge. Like I just thought it was good, bad. I never looked at it at from the through the lens of going, oh, it's his those are his fears and he's being presented with his fears, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was really cool. So now it helped me. Um, it awakened something in me to uh, pay more attention to that piece rather than seeing it from the other way. It helped me go. Oh, I mean, I'm not very versed at it yet because it's fairly new as far as like actually implementing it in my daily life. Right. I mean, all of these things have to be perpetuated and with a strong intent. And I'm still working on, you know, really getting rid of these fears, but um, I can feel myself segueing, you know, into being able to interact um, from a more aware place.
Yes,
You
and
know,
then
I can feel a
that
slight
awareness will
shift.
grow and it'll grow, and then you become more and more aware. And then what you're doing is you're going from a smaller picture of the scenario, you're going to a bigger picture where you're seeing more elements of it. Because, and then what that does is that gives you a bigger decision space. Now you can make your choice from all of this data instead of just how you feel, right? and
Oh my
and and don't
God.
trust yourself either. Question yourself too, because we can trick
I do it all
ourselves.
the time.
I do it all the time too, but I also question myself too. What am I doing? What is this really about? Come on, Shug,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
tell me this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just play
Exactly.
with it. You'd be surprised at some of the stuff you get into because there's a lot more to us than what we know. You'd be surprised. And some of the stuff, you don't want to know because you don't need to know that information so that you can learn and grow in another place, right? So there's some information that you don't need to know. You just need to know the basics right then. And it'll come when you need it.
Yeah.
It'll just show up
Yes.
when you need it. And this is it's always here to assist you because your growth is its growth too, because it's all the same thing. So it's going to do, and I've seen it. This place, the consciousness will bend over backwards to help a consciousness here that is ready and that wants to overcome their fears. It will bend over backwards. It'll bring you the assistance you need. And then when you feel like you're just too far in the struggle and you're just so uncomfortable and you've been uncomfortable for days, you can always tap out. You can go, okay, I'm not getting this piece. I'll have to circle back on it. But it's good if you stay with it because then you don't have to do it again.
Oh God.
And you just stay with it and it's like, okay, I'm gonna feel this all the way through and I'm gonna get through this one.
Yeah.
But if you get to a point where you just can't and you're in too much pain and it's okay, it's just too much for me right at this moment. I need some assistance with this one. And then just drop the whole thing because it will just show up. I've had people just,
Okay.
I've asked for assistance and they just show up. They'll text me, "How you
Okay.
doing?" And I'm over here
That's so
taking
cool.
bullets, and I'm in fear, and I'm just going, "Oh my God." I said, "Well, I'm stuck, but now I know what's going on. So now, you know, the people that I've worked with in the past, I'm stuck. But a lot of times I'll say, give me a minute. Let me see if I can get it myself. And that's why I don't like to do all the tricks of going out of body and doing all of that stuff. Cause those really are just part of tricks, kind of, because the real work and the real stuff happens here in the physical reality. That's where it's all going down. That's where the changes are happening. That's where you're changing yourself. That's just where it's all at. This is where you can grow from. And yeah, you can grow some in your dreams and stuff like that. But to me, it's kind of like that's where the system is doing checks and balances and kind of test and see where you're at on this in this area. Well, what are you going to do now with that? And
Okay.
yeah, and so it does have tests in it, and it does, there's a lot more going on in this realm than appears to our eyeballs. It's just a lot more going on.
Yeah.
And the only reason I know is because I started writing stuff down.
Yeah.
I would write down
So
what I dreamed. I would write down. I would go somewhere and go to the grocery store and something weird would happen there. I would come home and write down the components of it.
okay.
What just happened there? And then and it wasn't to beat myself up or do any of that. It was to learn what just happened there, and especially on things that were really confusing in your life. There's a lot, because you can learn a lot from all of it, even something simple like going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
You can learn a whole bunch of stuff just in that. If something happens, and
And
the people
that's
you get in your car and something weird happens there, you just all of it.
That's a really good point though, too, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm not understanding this particular piece. I'm just not getting it. And what am I missing? And I would really want to click on with this, because I feel like that is the piece that will help me move forward a little. But I'm always expecting, it's because I'm with myself. I'm like, well, I don't know where to look. I don't know how this works. I don't know what to do. Like, how am I going to get the information? And so I'm constantly telling myself that I don't know. Right? Instead of allowing myself to be open.
Just be open to the experience and expect the answer to come, because it will.
Yeah.
And then when it does, you can feel it when it does. And then you're like, oh, and then you finally get it. It's like, that's what it was trying to show me. Okay.
Cheryl's like, I knew it.
Oh no, I didn't either know it. I didn't know it until afterwards. It was like, I know, it was just like, oh, I get it now. That makes sense. And then you've got it by the tail now. Now you can go, it's like a balloon. I got it now. I'm gonna walk around with it. Yeah. And then you can learn about your new balloon. You get to play with it, and then you learn more about it, and then it just becomes part of you. Then you just let it go.
Yeah.
You don't need that. You don't need to carry that piece with you anymore.
Because it becomes integrated, right?
Integrated into your, and that's why I've always carried a notebook. I always have, at least 30 years that I know of. I've always carried a notebook.
Wow.
And I always, kind of write down. But before it was, if you look at my early stuff, it's just, I was just complaining.
Yeah, but isn't that part of the process, right? It's like,
it is.
I just
let me know I didn't like it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So true.
Yeah. And now I get funny stuff now in there too, and I write those down too. And I don't write the whole stories down, it's just bullet points, and whatever I'm thinking about. If I like to decode stuff here, I like to mess around with the data and put pieces together so that my understanding is better. And I like doing that. So I'll be decoding something, and I'll write down my little details, and then it'll be a little piece, and then it'll go boom, and then it'll give me a bigger picture of what I'm looking at, So I like doing that too. And so I'm doing what I'm doing and doing my life. It's very unconventional and different. But
no, that's really cool though. It's really cool. I love the approach. I love, I'm excited to, I know I have to be where I am, but I'm so excited. I want to understand so much more because I want to interact better and stuff,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's okay. Being where I am is okay
Oh,
because I know I'm
I'm
learning and I'm
sure
growing.
that I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. That
No, no, you're good.
I'm sure that, ask your sister. It's like, okay, from the time we got back together here to now, are things better? Ask. And that was one thing that I had to do when I first started doing the fear work. And I had a friend tell me, she'll just ask the people around you, you know, go taste the pudding that way. Just ask the people around you this question, you know, because it's again, this is just all about information. It's not to beat you up with. It's like, and ask people, they'll tell you the truth. That's good. Some people just want to pump you up. Some people want to tell you honestly, and just ask as you go, and then that'll give you feedback. And it'll it's like,
Okay.
well, yeah, you're starting to relax a little bit, and yeah, things are better here and in this way, and yeah,
What
because
if,
because
okay,
we can't know all of that.
right. Well, but what about if their interpretation is seeing it negatively?
Well, if that's how they usually are, that's not who I would ask first.
Yeah, I have a very limited amount, a very limited amount of people I can ask, but that's okay because that's all changing, right?
Yes, you're
My
reaching out,
reality is going to be
you're
bigger.
having relationships, and there's going to be disasters. It's going to be messy, but it's okay.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
mean, I should be used to that shit.
Yeah, at this point, we all should be used to that, and it's the way it is. And what I'm finding is, even though there are disasters, there is so many ways to. It just ends up helping everybody grow and evolve, and then
Yeah.
as you come back together, then things are okay. And the
Yeah.
compassion and care that you have for those around you, it just keeps growing and expanding. It just keeps changing and growing and expanding. And like the relationships with my family has done nothing but just grow and become these. I never had any idea they could be what they are. No idea
That's
at all, but I had to change and stop being so fearful, because it was, fear just makes us into, we don't act right. We can't, because we're afraid. And it's
yeah.
really sad, it's really sad when people are in a lot of fear, because it's really hard to live like that.
Right.
Yeah.
When you shared in one of the other ones that we did, when you shared the story about your family, and how your relationships, like my sister was like, that was that really moved her because it helped click something in with her, going, our reality actually does change. And as I change and grow, because she's on this path too, and she's
Oh
really
yeah.
putting in the work too,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
right?
Oh, I saw her there. She's asking questions, and she's actually putting in the work. It was almost like you both were here to assist each other, and you're both ready at the same time. I don't think that's
Yeah.
an accident.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's super interesting.
Yeah.
But like, she's like, if you and I hadn't moved in together, she goes, I would have never ever accomplished what I'm accomplishing. It's
She's already starting to feel better about herself. You know, I'm not talking about your sister with her not being present, but it,
oh
it
no.
all I'm saying is that, the part about, I just talked to her for what, an hour or so, and it was apparent that she's an introvert, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
not understanding that about yourself. And it's like, well, no, when I get around people, I'm just no good at it, and it's like, that's what introverts think, but it's not them. It's not that they're not good at it. They're just introverts, and they process data in a different way than extroverts do. So extroverts can go out in the crowds and be around people all the time, and it does not drain their energy like it does introverts. And it's not that you don't like people or any of that. It's that you don't want to spend a lot of time around people, because then you don't have any energy to do anything, the things that you need to do. So most introverts are very careful with their time around other people who know that they are introvert. So just having the
Yeah.
right information here in this realm is just
Right.
paramount.
No, exactly. And that's what I was going to say. I mean, like just knowing that because I'm like, I need to understand so much more about myself because it helps us interact in the reality in a
Yeah.
much healthier way for everyone.
Yes,
And
for
there's that
everybody. Yeah, because if
clarity
you're
and
an introvert and you don't want to be there, and then there you are, and you're surrounded by people. It's like like I said the other day, I was like, they need a T-shirt that says, "I'm an introvert, I'm uncomfortable, and I want to go home." And
yes,
so
exactly.
that's how they're really feeling in the group, right? And so they're not comfortable. So the vibrations aren't comfortable for the people around them either. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And that's all it is. It has nothing to do with your skills, that your people skills, or any of that stuff. It's just that. And I think that every social event needs to have a little room off to the side for the introverts, which usually the introverts always end up off away from the group and by themselves. Watch them. You'll
Yeah.
see them every time. Roll up on an introvert party. They're not talking.
Yeah.
They're just standing there. Oh, they're cute though. But I wouldn't know. I've lived this time around as an extrovert. So, but I've been around a lot of them. My mother was an introvert, and
Okay.
oh yeah, I know. I just drug her down all the time. Made her listen to my
Mm.
stories.
Okay. Okay.
Oh yeah, she said I was an awesome kid. She said I was quiet and I didn't cause any problems. So I'm thinking I was a good kid. I
I'm
never
thinking
knew.
I'm thinking she was lying. I'm just kidding.
Well, she probably didn't know me very well.
No, I'm just kidding. Well, you're so curious. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
she
that's
said
how
that
you.
got it. Yeah, she said that started getting me into trouble when I was a teenager and
Okay.
early, 18, 17, 18. She goes, yeah, that because I was just smart enough to get in trouble. See, so
Oh
so
my
I would figure out
gosh.
how to do stuff, and then I was going to get in a lot of trouble if I kept doing that kind of stuff. So I had to quit doing that stuff. I had to learn all that, but it was okay. It came in
Yeah.
one lesson from my father, and I never did anything like that again. Nope, Cheryl is not ever going to. I'm not breaking any of those rules.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. But we're all here learning and growing as we go. And I'm so glad that you and your sister are on the banana boat here to learn and grow too. I'm usually doing this work by myself most of the time. And so I'm so glad. And it's been a fun journey. And I've learned from y'all too. It's it goes both ways. That's the thing about
Yeah.
these interactions are just so important, and just talking about topics and working through them. And if everybody starts doing this communication, all it's going to do is just make the realm a better place.
Exactly.
And
Which is
so
the whole point,
it is the whole point.
you know? And I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that good stuff.
I
Right?
do. I don't want to be a part of the problem. I want to be a part of the solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Setting that
and
intent
with your
right now.
well, and with your whole fear recovery thing, like that's
Or
beautiful,
like a fear
amazing.
recovery clinic, kind of like that. I don't want fear in the title. It's just we need another word for it. I wish we could find another word
Yeah,
for it.
no, because the fear word will create fear.
Exactly. Yeah. But see, when we rename it, the same thing's going to happen again. Oh, geez. It is the way it is. But congratulations to you and your courage and all that you're doing, because you're just going to be, your reality is going to start shifting and growing, and you're going to be so surprised and so happy and thrilled. And the journey's going to be fun. You will just have fun
Yeah.
with it. Have fun with it, because you don't have to be mad and upset. You can have fun with it.
Yeah.
Well, you have to be mad if you're mad, but
Well, yeah, I'm just terrified. It's like always afraid. And I'm like, it's okay. accept it, and then with the whole thing of just letting go, that's a huge one. Letting go and let the system take care
and let the
of it.
system help you, and do your
Yeah.
best to make your, because the choices, and why you do things is what's the most important thing. And just
Yep.
question yourself, why am I doing this thing? Why do I want to do this? Why, excuse me. Why? Ask yourself why, because that's where it's all at, is and that's what it's all about, is why you're doing things and what your intent is, and what kind of choices are you going to make. It's all about those choices. And if those choices are made out of fear, it's not going to turn out well. If they're made out of caring and compassion for others, watch things grow and evolve and get lovely. And that's just how it works here. That's what I've seen over and over again. And there is a way to heal ourselves and get it all the way into the being, all the way in.
Yes.
It just becomes who you are. It's like, no,
Yep.
oh, I want to be a person who's loving and compassionate. No, it's like, no, that's what you are. It's who you are.
Right.
You're no longer acting or
Yep.
putting on that mask when you go out, trying to change perceptions and all that stuff. It becomes who you are. It's a kind person.
Right.
Either you're a kind person or you're not. So that's how you get to it. Does this work? And thank you again for coming to the front row seat. And
Thanks for having
yeah, I
us.
can tell you, I'm not aiming this at anybody else but Pamela here right now, where it's all about you, because you're doing it and you're doing great
I'm
things.
doing it. Thank you. Thank you. I'm all in.
We'll do this again soon.
That sounds great. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Thanks everybody for coming and hanging out with us, and we'll do this again soon. We're really working through this information, and we are going through it with a fine-tooth comb. And any nuggets we can pull out of this messy mat, we're gonna share them here, and in other talks that we've had, there's just been so many good nuggets that's coming out of it. So we're gonna share it here. So, and other people can take those gold nuggets and put them in their pockets and take it home with them.
Yes.
Yes.
Love that.
Y'all have a great evening and much love.
Take care. Bye-bye.